If you liked the video, feel free to subscribe. We have battle reports, list videos, and other Warhammer 40K content every week. Thanks for watching, thanks for stopping by. This video is going over my Adeptus Custodes list for the May 31st Championship RTT in Sackville, Canada. I'm running a Lines of the Emperor detachment with no Caladius Grav-Tanks in the list. I like the flexibility this list gives me over a Grav-Tank list. I do see the power of taking the tanks in the list though. I do have another list coming out this week that is covering my RTT list using tanks, so I'm going to use either this list or my tank list at this RTT. We have covered a lot of the Lines of the Emperor content over the past month or so. Instead of going over what the detachment does for each of these units, for this video I will explain why I took the units in my list and my mindset for this list and why I took these units. This is my Lines of the Emperor list. I've come to call my infantry Lines of the Emperor list the Lines of War. So this one comes to 2,000 points. My warlord is Trajann Wardens. For the other characters, we do have an Allarus shield captain with the Admonimortis enhancement with the Custodian axe, another Allarus shield captain with the superior creation enhancement, allowing him once per game to stand up on a 2+ with full wounds remaining, and he has a guardian spear. A shield captain on Dawn Eagle jetbike, this one has a salvo launcher, and finally a Bladechampion. For a battle line, we do have one unit of Custodian guard, 2 spears, 1 sword and shield, and 1 Vexilla, shield, and Misericordia. For the other data sheets, we do have 2 units of 2 Allarus Terminators with the Guardian Spears. Those will join our 2 Allarus Shield Captains. 2 units of 5 Custodian Wardens. Both of those units have the Guardian Spears with 1 Vexilla. One will be joining Trajann, the other will join the Bladechampion. A unit of 2 Vertus Praetors, also with the salvo launchers, to join with our Shield Captain on the Dawn Eagle jetbike. Finally, for our Custodes units, we do have 2 units of 4 Witchseekers. For my allied unit, I do have Inquisitor Draxus to join up with that Custodian Guard unit. And that's my list. It comes to 2,000 points, no tanks, and mostly infantry. We won't go over all the Lines of the Emperor rules. I did want to mention the detachment rule. We did have a little bit of a change to it. It used to be each time an Adeptus Custodes unit from your army, excluding vehicles, makes an attack, if there's no other friendly units within 6 inches of that unit, add 1 to the hit roll, and add 1 to the wound roll. It was changed to each time an Adeptus Custodes model from your army makes an attack, if there's no other friendly units within 6 inches of that unit, add 1 to the hit roll, and add 1 to the wound roll. The only thing that was changed was an Adeptus Custodes unit to an Adeptus Custodes model. Originally, I didn't think this really made a difference, just cleaning up the wording a little bit. Someone did comment that this detachment rule technically wouldn't work with the Fight on Death, because Fight on Death is Adeptus Custodes model, and this says Adeptus Custodes unit. Now with the change, this works as intended. We do get the detachment rule when we Fight on Death. We still do not get our Martial Kata for sustained hits or lethal hits, since that ability is when the Adeptus Custodes unit selects, and the Fight on Death was not changed from model to unit, so that is still the same. Martial Kata doesn't work on Fight on Death, but our detachment rule now as written does work on our Fights on Death models. On to the unit breakdown, and let's start out with our warlord, Trajann Wardens, joined by 5 Wardens. I could replace Trey for a Bladechampion. I like what he adds to my list though. What he adds is some insane potential damage. Moment Shackle for 12 attacks, or make him into a tank with a 2+ invulnerable save. The fact that we can reset Moment Shackle with Gilded Champion is why I like using him. The 12 attacks with a 2+ invulnerable really gives people pause when charging him. I also like to use Fight on Death with Moment Shackle, so Trajann usually kills above his points in this detachment. I did not take a unit of Wardens in this list, I took 2 units. This list will not have the same shooting potential of the 3 Custodian Guard RTT list I used previously. What these Wardens add is some serious chunk to my list. A 4+ feel no pain for phase, and -1 to the wound roll if the incoming attack strength is higher than the Warden's toughness 6. The Trajann with Wardens unit can operate by themselves a lot easier than most of my list, except for possibly the bikes, meaning they can dish out some great damage with that +1 to the hit and +1 to the wound roll from the Against All Odds detachment rule. The Trajann unit to pressure the center, while the Bladechampion unit takes my expansion objective. Speaking of the Bladechampion with the 5 Wardens, yes, I finally decided to put the beloved Bladechampion Wardens unit in the list. I strongly considered Valerian. This RTT has a lot of factions with a lot of high volume but low AP melee attacks. Valerian could really make a difference here with his -1 AP in the fight phase. I still went with the Bladechampion for the psychological aspect of the unit. Valerian cannot advance in charge, his threat range is much smaller. The opponent has to respect the longer charge range of the Bladechampion Wardens unit. The Bladechampion also has one of the very few, if not our only, AP 3, Damage 3 melee attacks without any buffs. Strength 6 has always been the downside of the Bladechampion into monster and vehicle units. It was either roll a bunch of 6s for devastating wounds or a bunch of failed wounds. +1 to the wound will be wounding anything toughness 5 and under on a 2+, and toughness 6 to a toughness 11 on a 4+, and those toughness 12 vehicles like the Land Raider on a 5+. I do have the option to re-rack my advance and charge. It's not something I always need to do, it's something I can consider, but it just allows me to save the CP for using that on Trajann or possibly my Shield Captain on Dawn Eagle Jetbike. Next up is the Allarus Shield Captain with the 2 Allarus with the Admonimortis enhancement. I have tried this on the Guardian Spear. Going from AP2 to AP3 is nice, and it does help against those 2+ save targets. I do prefer this enhancement with the Castellan Axe. Adding 3 strength, 1 AP, and 1 damage takes it up to 6 attacks, hitting on 2+, strength 12, AP2, damage 4. I like using the Allarus Shield Captain's Oromite and Adamantine ability to engage those really dangerous units. It allows me to reliably get 2 turns of combat into the Silent King or other hard-to-hit, hard-hitting units. I try to avoid the trap of filling my list full of huge bricks of Allarus units. 2 Allarus with a Shield Captain is all I really need for a unit. I mostly want these Allarus to give reroll wounds to the Admonimortis Axe Captain. 99% of the time I start this unit in reserves. It keeps the opponent on their toes. I can rapid ingress them in a position to go after the big bad of the enemy list. If I feel I do need to use Golden Light early to react to an opponent's movement or decision, I use it on this unit first. Save that Unleash the Lions with Golden Light combo for the other Allarus Shield Captain with Allarus unit. That other Allarus Shield Captain unit with the 2 Allarus does have the Superior Creation enhancement, allowing it, after death, once per game to stand back up on a 2+ with full wounds remaining. I was not sure about this unit at first, to be honest. I think I was using it wrong though, not taking advantage of the unit like I do with the Venerable Dreadnoughts in the Solar Spearhead. The idea of this unit is to be a hard-hitting anvil, a possible 2 uses of Oromite and Adamantine to reduce all damage to 1 for a phase, then the Shield Captain can stand back up on a 2+ with those full wounds remaining. Just like the other Shield Captain, I attached 2 Allarus to it. That will give them access to reroll the wound roll into vehicle, monster, and character units. It just makes this unit of 3 very deadly on the table. You don't really need 3 or 5 Terminators with these Shield Captains and Lines of the Emperor. I find a unit of 2 with an Allarus Shield Captain to be fine. I have started deploying these on the board to help pressure the center. The unit seems to be the better choice when I need to charge and take the enemy off the center objective early game. Instead of my more expensive Trajann and Wardens unit, I have been doing my best during my practice games to ensure I find annoying ways and places to use this unit to gain points for myself and deny the opponent points. I stopped using this like an attack unit, now I use it like a utility and secondary unit. Next up, the Shield Captain on Dawn Eagle Jetbike with the 2 Vertus Praetors. This is a new unit for my competitive Lines of the Emperor list. I have seen you in the comments and I've been sold on this unit. It adds some speed to my list. Being able to reset Sweeping Advance makes for some tricksy plays. I'm still up in the air about salvo launchers or hurricane bolters. I'm leaning towards salvo launchers for some long range anti-tank. It really hurts when you roll those ones to hit with these salvo launchers though. May the dice gods grant my salvo launchers with hit rolls above 1. The Vertus Praetor's Quicksilver Execution can be used after a normal or advanced move. If we use Sweeping Advance to fly over a unit or model from a unit, we can drop some mortal wound bombs. The Shield Captain adds to the total amount of units with the Vertus Praetors. Quicksilver Execution, you roll a dice for every model in the unit, so it doesn't specify Vertus Praetors model, it's just model in the unit, so that's why you can get that potential 6 mortal wounds, since we'll have 3 models in this unit. I like to use them to help claim my expansion objective. If my opponent did not deploy to pressure my expansion objective, I will deploy these for early turn secondary actions like containment. Next up is Old Faithful Inquisitor Draxus with 4 Custodian Guard. If you are new to the channel, I do have a recent video covering why Draxus and other Inquisitors make great leaders for the Custodian Guard in this detachment. Instead of going over it all again, if you are new to the channel, the big reason we like to take this unit is the synergy between Draxus and the Custodian Guard. Draxus has great anti-infantry range attacks, while the Custodian Guard can unlock reroll the wound roll and shoot twice once per game. Then add that detachment roll for +1 to the hit and +1 to the wound. Draxus normally hits on a 3+, so she does love that +1 to the hit roll, making her attacks much more reliable. Instead of going over that whole unit again, I will answer the question of why I dropped the normal Inquisitor with the Custodian Guard unit. The unit was still a good unit, but not a great unit. I have had games where the unit would shine and do something great, while other games I felt another unit would be better after I secured my expansion objective. I decided to drop the unit and move some points around to fit the Bladechampion and Wardens unit. It is a much more dangerous unit with the ability to reach out from the expansion objective much easier. Not to mention a Bladechampion with 5 Wardens is much harder to repel and destroy than an Inquisitor with 4 Custodian Guard. I found once I took my expansion objective, this unit really just sat around and did nothing. Now I can push my Witchseekers onto that objective, then send that Bladechampion and Wardens unit farther up into my opponent's army. The last units we have to talk about is the Witchseekers. I love me some Witchseekers. The 6-inch scout is great for blocking turn 1 charges, getting on objectives early, or even some good turn 1 secondary scoring. I was thinking of dropping 1 unit for a unit of 5 prosecutors that would do a better job of screening my back lines. I figured I would take the chance, for if I do have an opponent who starts everything on the board, having 2 scouting units would really come in handy. If I do need to use one of my 2 Witchseekers to screen my back lines, I will use the other Witchseeker unit to scout 6 inches towards the center objective. Leave my expansion objective to the bikes or the Bladechampion and Wardens unit. I can't tell you the amount of times got turn 1, scouted 6 inches towards the center, only to draw aerial denial and established locust for some easy yet high turn 1 secondary scoring. This is my favorite Psychona unit by far, and you may have heard me say that, and you're probably going to hear me say it again. That's my unit breakdown. There is not as much shooting potential without as many Custodian Guard with that shoot twice and reroll the wound roll. These Wardens really add some toughness and survivability to my list that I found I was lacking when I brought my Custodian Guard Heavy to the last RTT. It still got me 3rd place and into the Championship RTT, but I still wanted to tweak this list a little bit more. Thus, I've added the Wardens and a few other tweaks to the list. Time to go over the game plan for this list. We'll go over a general game plan, a game plan against a shooting heavy list, and then a melee balanced list. For a general game plan, I do not have any Grav-Tanks in this list. There's no real long range anti-tank in the list. The salvo launcher bikes are a bonus anti-tank damage, not dedicated anti-tank for this list. This means I need to take advantage of line of sight cover while I set up staging areas for charges and shooting. My list does have a lot of flexibility. I do have some high damage potential with some tough units. I need to take my time in the movement phase. I want to take advantage of the detachment rule as much as I can. A lot of my units have damage 2 weapons, so if I get that +1 to the wound, even though they are strength 4 with +1 to the wound and damage 2 can threaten a lot of units on the board. So I want to be able to take advantage of my detachment rule as much as I can. Against a shooting heavy opponent, I actually don't mind playing against a list that outguns me by a lot. It usually means they will not have the same kind of objective pressure as my list. I can get on the objectives, try to be out of line of sight as much as I can, and start using my attack and utility units to deny my opponent from scoring. If I can keep the pressure up, I can gain so many points that even by turn 5, if I only have a few units or a few models left, my opponent can't catch me in points, and points win games. For a melee heavy or balanced list, these lists I need to be a bit more wary of. They have the units needed to dig my Custodes off objectives and do lasting damage in the fight phase. Other melee factions will have fights first, fight on death, and other ways to power up their units in melee. These games, Valerian would shine if we did have Valerian in the list, and what Valerian does is pretty much an Armor of Contempt in the combat phase. Any incoming melee attacks on Valerian's unit, -1 to the AP. we don't have Valerian in the list, it's just something I wanted to mention. Tying up units in a melee heavy or balanced list could be dangerous, unlike shooting armies where we want to tag as many units in combat as possible. I need to screen with the Witchseekers and set up shooting traps for Draxus to gun down some enemy infantry. I need to make smart decisions in the fight phase on who to charge and who to activate first with. Let's finish the video with some final thoughts. This is one of the lists I am thinking of taking to the RTT Championship Tournament. The other list I will have a video out this week. Let me know which one you like the most. This list does lack the big Grav-Tank anti-tank guns. Besides running into knights, which could happen, I'm okay with the lack of anti-tank. I will just have to outscore the knights instead of killing them. I will show off this list in a battle report, or at least a list very similar to it. I do believe that battle report did come out this past Sunday. Throw it down in the comments below. Am I crazy for not taking the Grav-Tanks in the list? There's still time to change my mind, and I still have my Grav-Tank list to show you guys later on this week. Subscribe for battle reports, list videos, and other Warhammer 40K content. Like always, thanks for watching, thanks for stopping by.